Okay, I'm going to give it a go then.
Oh, I'm going to be doing some yoga. Is that going to be a problem?
I honestly don't know, to be honest. I don't even know how to work this stuff, and there's a lot of words in it. I don't even know how to get through it all, to be honest.
Oh, it's not going to make too much noise, is it?
I don't know.
I mean, what are you doing?
I'll do my thing. Hello, this fucking idiot. Oh, okay, you can shut me in now, I think.
Okay, mind your feet.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, see, this is the thing. See, I used to do like theatre on stages, and now I'm live and direct in my cupboard from Ladbroke Grove, West London, with Jennifer doing a yoga class in the background, man. It's like, I made this. This is like a store cupboard, you know. I nailed duvets and pillows to the walls and everything, trying to soundproof it, but anyway. Right, I'm just going to do my best. I've got no idea if this thing works. I don't know what this button does. I don't know. I'm probably going to fuse the national grid here. But here we go. This is my thing. There's a time to cry, but that time is not now. There's a crime to be faced, and this is not how. There's a way to be found, but it's not Tao. For the day to be won, we need to avow. You see a contagion. You make an equation. You fear an invasion. When it's your evasion. You decided I'm virus, based on a bias, so you flip the stylus to the groove of a chorus that's desirous of the iris of that bile that inspires us to find hate in a crisis and not be the wisest, instead faux pious and blame in a highness that's really just slyness in the dryness of a minus that signs up for crimes that align us all eyeless with a tyrant's maligness that won't dignify us and leaves us wireless. Hope, not hate, we would hope is our fate. But the rope came too late, and the trope is our state. No matter how dope is our bait, our scope wasn't great, and our slope wasn't straight, we won't cope with this weight. The deadly contagion is my face. The crucial equation is my race. You see an invasion of your space, but it's your evasion with no trace. Locked down in Plague Town, I see a fool and it's the common noun. You want a showdown in Shantytown, it's not your playground, so you melt down. You looked round like Cain for someone to blame that you could defame, and you chanced on a game that required an aim that you couldn't attain, so you lashed at the strain and you howled in the rain at the link in the chain you didn't think was the twain that you could rename because it wasn't the same and just wouldn't be reigned, so you cast your pain and made your frame and cooked your own chow mein, composed a refrain in the poem of methane that was made on the plane of your prejudice and shame. And my brother is crying now. He's standing there bruised and bloodied and perplexed, misused and muddied on a bogus pretext. He's been called by a name he didn't even know, forced to confront what he didn't want to own. And salt tears flow now. He scarcely could imagine, didn't think it was possible, couldn't see it was credible, never reckoned with this outcome. And hurt tears flow now, and cruel fears grow now, and harsh winds blow now, while hurt tears flow. Ow!
You okay?
Yeah. Sorry, it's just the noise of the headphones.
Hey, he's saying about suing you.
Why does he want to sue me?
Because you called him a disgrace.
Yeah, I said in as far as we're concerned, it's like in our opinion. Man, the whole world's burning down, we're all in lockdown, everyone's dying. I mean, really, I can deal with this fuckery. Listen, I'm already on this. This is starting to sound good. Yeah, shut the door again, honestly. I can't be bothered to deal with him.
Okay, alright then.
Where was I? Oh yeah, that's me. I've been congratulated in the past on my community and its quietness and politeness. The fact we're not pesky troublemakers like those other people of colour. That we keep our heads down and graft. That we don't cause a fuss or demand the lead role in the prime time. That we don't politicise, unionise, criticise, liberalise, signalise. That in fact we acclimatise and epitomise good migrant values. That we're symphonised and syncretised and syllabised and lionised as placid and culturally civilised and visualised in an obedient, idealised paradigm. That we don't be victimised. That we allow us stigmatised. That we accept trivialised, happily dehumanised but never criminalised. That we symbolise hard-working, uncomplaining, hypnotised, pacified and cast aside as a devitalised, exoticised, normalised, privatised, ancient-wise culture that will cicatrise in silence, are minimalised in compliance, nullified in alliance and simonised as reliant. That we should be proud to be someone troublesome. But I'm not proud of that. In fact, I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed of the fact that we won't raise our voice. I'm ashamed we don't act or exercise our choice. I'm inflamed by our tact and that you can rejoice in our famed lack of boldness and breakage and noise. That tamed little pact we signed as your convoy to stay muted and packed and making buckjoy.
to remain in a tract of docile employ, yet weaponized, enacted when you chose to deploy us to beat down on black people you casually destroy. You proclaim us your bracked little bottle-eying carboy, your lame and cracked ideal minority McCoy, maimed and stacked like washed-up Dipnoy. No. So fuck your model minority card. I never wanted it anyway. It didn't get me in your club. It deflated and frustrated and truncated and outdated and vacated and castrated and deactivated and antiquated and cultivated and desecrated and dissipated and dominated and understated and moderated and mutilated and fabricated and orchestrated and obliterated and obligated and insulated and implicated and nauseated and mutilated and regulated and fabricated and flagellated and conjugated me into a component model of celestial remove and promulgated me as your handy, hard roof and nominated my name as irrefutable proof, integrated me into the chorus of disapprove, decorated my reticence, devoided my groove, terminated my soul and my right to choose. But I was born and raised in the ugly Wild West, and I was anointed and baptized in the flame of punk rock. The great Joe Strummer wrote a lyric in a song he called White Riot. Black man got a lot of problems, but they don't mind throwing a brick. Asian kids go to school. So where's our brick? Give it to me. I'll pick it up and hold it and swing back and fling it and hurl it and throw it into the heart of this hate, into the mart of this fate, like a dart that inflates our part in debate and ignites art from this state, a sudden spate that relates and shatters and matters and scatters and swaggers, is real, made of steel, and unseals us with zeal and spiels off our will and heals and not kills. I saw you standing on the street. You were crying and bleeding and your eye was puffed up like a hurt boil. You couldn't understand, you couldn't relate in this hinterland, it just didn't equate, it wasn't part of the plan that in your substrate state you'd sink in the quicksand and choke on this trait. You say it breaks your heart and leaves you crushed and bereft. It's stolen your faith like the worst act of theft. You call it ignorance, but trust me, they know what's what. They just picked on you now because you suit their rot. No conservative tones will ease this malaise. They don't do it because they don't know better. They made a choice. They do it to indulge and wallow and rejoice in their rage and their spite. They couldn't target their fight, and they've been succored and nurtured and unleashed as a mite. There's no moral compass or leadership that's right, except in the far sense, so that's a dimming of the light. There's no one to turn to, no top-down respite, so you have to know it that long is this night, and hard is this fight, and dying is our light, when we need to burn bright, and ignite, and incite, be outright, not alt-right. And not make common cause with a mighty government a long way away that crushes its people into submission and incarcerates minorities in the name of stemming division and surveils its citizens and curtails their dissidents and says that we're different, our rights insignificant. All we care about is material, all else is ethereal. And maybe they did cause this bacterial affliction, but I won't collude in their mythical fiction. And I won't cheer on Boris and like Nadim Doris demand that I do, because I'm not your fool and I'm not the weaponized race of the Chinese Communist Party. I won't give any face except demand the space to say loud and clear, there is not a bone in my body that is patriotic, but I'll sing an anthem for the human race if you'll let me. So brother, don't cry and don't ask why. Learn to decry and don't deify, because attempted forbearance is plain acquiescence. You think you can educate, but some viruses do discriminate. And they don't predicate in a way you can militate and influence or deviate, when all they want is to eliminate, bifurcate, obliterate, devastate and dominate, empowered by the fourth estate who they emulate and imitate, led by a braying cannon of Hopkins and Farage and Yaxley Lennon, of a Sunday night TV star who thinks it's all boring but hires a lawyer to ensure that he's scoring, tanked up with cocaine and righteous omnipotence, spying in white lash grift of fecund auspiciousness, while an anti-Semitic conspiracy brews, and Muslim migrant blame ensues, and Africans walk the streets homeless in the province of Guangzhou, while we're in the crosshairs of the nationalist crossbow. And Trump says it's Chinese, a racialized disease, and praises white men with guns on his free state streets who take up his mantra of willful caprice, while CCP wolf warrior diplomats say it didn't come from bats, that Uncle Sam's military were the real corollary, and they lock out Taiwan from the WHO because renminbi talks in this tale of woe. And back and forth and around they'll both swerve, Their own exoneration is all they'll preserve. A desperate tussle for geopolitical vindication, a tawdry tit-for-tat of trade war termination, while we're trapped in the middle of their lies and deceit, their mutual meltdown of malfeasant mislead. So many seek the comfort of a familiar emphasis, which indulges the rancor of their easy prejudice, the warped feel-good factor of having a target to aim for, a fantasized, fetishized figure that's baneful, that is a recourse they think they need, not a discarnate fix for your spiritual creed. Because, friend, this is what I think. That racism they espouse is not a mark of their fear or lack of knowledge or insight. It's a base instinct that dwells inside all of us, that they've now been told is okay to run with by the leaders who gave them license. Like the box of Pandora, a fetid Gomorrah, unleashed and unsilenced and released with all violence. It's not shameful anymore. In fact, it's baleful of a war that's been declared in your absence, is now there and is urgent, that requires your participation, not your meditative abdication. And perhaps we can't win, and we might even lose, so you have to choose whether to accept their script or go down with this ship, to beg for alliance or dance with defiance, because this could even be the end game. There's a time to cry, but that time is not now. There's a crime to be faced, and this is not how. There's a way to be found, but it's not Tao. For the day to be won, we need to avow that now we can't hide in shadows or cow, be ruled in divide or holier than thou, 'cause brutality crushes you when you choke. Your model minority card they revoked. If now's the climb when you choose to appease, the only rhyme you'll find is on your knees. There'll be a time for fear, but that time is not now. The price of your tears is more than Wu Mao. So brother, stand up. Take courage from your sister. Instead of victim, turn now to resistor. Black man got a lot of problems, but they don't mind throwing a brick. Asian kids go to school where they teach you how to be